youth. The allocation again to the youth sector, knife off.
Everything negative, but you're not short of your salary. Everything negative.
Mr. Speaker, all members, I am so particular about this. The allocation to the UN delegation that leaves this country every year. We are part of governance as opposition. We are part of governance. Again, there is a massive increase from 10 to 22. And in all of this, government will, even here, when allocations are sent to members of parliament, it's only MPs from the ruling bench that leave this parliament. So go to UN General Assembly. Are we not Sierra Leoneans? Are we not part of governance? You know how I have been going.
So Speaker, point of order. Sorry for interjecting. You know, when you bring parliament into this, as a member of parliament, you need to justify. What I know, we have been Mohamed Bangura as the chairman for foreign. Why is he not APC? Is he Tom not APC? So when you bring parliament name to distribute, you have to justify. On record, Mohamed Bangura is APC. Thompson is APC. You know, sometimes we need to speak the truth. You don't control the administration of parliament. It has to do with the speaker and the clerk. So if you are saying you are not part of governance, that means you are saying Mohamed Bangura is not part of APC. So justify. I beg my submission, sir. Let him justify.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I want us to be very clear.
Yes.
The leader of government business has been very instrumental in ensuring that we have this parliamentary information stuff. He has been very instrumental. And I want to commend him for that. I could remember we formed a joint team to Abuja.
Unapologetically.
And the honorable David was quite correct. You know, we want to say nobody should suffer. This is a parliament, and we have the parliament administration, which is quite different. We are part of governance. We are an independent arm of governance. But you could agree with me that on several occasions you have all the leadership of the ruling bench, you know, going to UN General Assembly. And none of the leadership of this side will go.
You want to go this year? Put your application
on. So this is a wake-up call that opportunities should be made available to members of parliament disregarding their political lineage. No member of parliament should suffer because his political party is not in governance. You know, you can argue with me that since I came, I have not had official. Yes, we are almost done now.
Now all the leaders, all the leaders are going to have official meetings.
Mr. Speaker,
I can show you.
Mr. Speaker, you have still not answered my question. We have three sets of people in parliament. We have the opposition, hold on, sir. We have the APC and the APC opposition, the paramount chief and SSP. I have asked, they said, which of them has never considered moving to United Nations. If Mohamed Bangura and Honorable are they not APC, just answer that one. That is one. Whatever political ramifications you might have, let us to give it your internal administration. Mr. Speaker, let me say this, please. The paramount chiefs are always taken to the United Nations. Our records are very clear. On records, no matter the inter-party democracy, I don't want to go back to 2012 to 2018. When they went to the Security Council, when they went to the United Nations, when they went to with the former leader of government business, Honorable Ibrahim, we saw the videos. We are not there. They are dancing, but we are not aggrieved. I am asking you questions. Mohamed Bangura, Honorable Thompson are not part of APC, yes or no? And I'm not asking you to read the
just a short one. Any representation, once it concerns, I'm coming. Once it concerns representation from the All People's Congress political party, I am sure you cannot beat the time of the leader. I should make the recommendation. So if you make the recommendation, exercise the discretion, and does not contact the leader, then it's not a representation from the party. Maybe it's a subtle way of compromising the evidence.
Mr. Speaker, what became the argument was not my argument. My argument is, if you just increase from 10 million to 22 for just visitation and clapping at the General Assembly, and you leave those areas of buying drugs, that is wickedness. That is my interest. Mr. Speaker, let me.
What do you mean by just?
Well, Mr. Speaker, most of the people I said that
what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Mr. Speaker, let me conclude.
Do you know there are several sessions at the UN General Assembly?
You see, Mr. Speaker, this is why we say we must have representation on this side. Because for us who monitor the General Assembly from the internet, all we see most times, I haven't even seen the Honorable Selu clapping and dancing.
Well, that is only showing clapping and dancing. Mr. Speaker, point of order. What about the other meetings?
They are not
I just want to inform this House that whenever a delegation goes to United Nations, it's not singing and clapping. We have bilateral meetings. I am chairman of Foreign Affairs Don't react to that.
Mr. Speaker, my name was mentioned. I have never been to UN. No, I have never been to UN on a government quota. I have never, let it for records. I have never, since 2018, I have problems in the United States. I have never gone to US on a government ticket. I have never. Mr. Speaker,
proceed with your debate. 30 seconds.
Mr. Speaker, I will take your advice in this thing. Mr. Speaker, I know other two areas that have been reduced is the tertiary education, the Ministry of Higher Education. Mr. Speaker, we cannot have a situation where we just brought in new institutions coming in, and new universities, we've introduced new programs, and we are cutting down tertiary education. This is where we build the future of this nation. This is where we invest. We cannot continue to talk about human capital development. We reduce education, agriculture, and health. Mr. Speaker, what is so worrisome? As our country still continue to fight drug abuse, every year when we have a budget, supplementary budget, I'll continue to say we must increase in the area of the drug law enforcement agency. If you see this one, it has been increased. This shows our inept as a nation to fight drugs. Mr. Speaker, it's more than push. 225 and every other thing is still around. Mobility is still a crisis for the institution. Manpower is still a crisis for the institution. Even fear is a crisis for the institution. They don't have a bicycle. How do you talk about fear? So if all of these things is missing, we must increase. These are the areas we want government to be increasing. And not for the office of the chief minister. Mr. Speaker, the one I will not shout loud is that of the Minister of Finance themselves. No, they are doing well. That's true. They are doing very well. I'm just saying the increased ratio. I have not called the number. Just try to be on this. So, Mr. Speaker, in all of this, we are still asking that when we have supplementary budget like this, they must not be seen to address just the office of the president, the chief minister, and other.
They have done the evaluation.
But again, we need to see a reflection in the key ministries that drive change in society. As the minister and the chairman of finances, some of us are always working with him to ensure we contribute to the revenue of this nation. Mr. Speaker, you go to private sector, even the restaurants where we eat, people give you receipts that are not GST. And I have said in this house over and over again, I still wait to have a day where this parliament will be seated just to discuss and debate the issue of the GST and how we can have maybe a special regulation to address the issue of the GST. We have increased tax in almost all areas. I still hold the opinion that if we increase our monitoring of the GST, we can do better than what we are doing now. Thank you very much.
Honorable AKK, thank you very much. Honorable Engineer Bala.
Fallacious.
Mr. Speaker and honorable members, Engineer Honorable Falatembe from Kailan District, Yenga to be specific. Mr. Speaker, I rise in full support of the fiscal year 2026 supplementary budget that is in front of this Honorable House of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, this supplementary budget is not a sign of failure. Mr. Speaker, it is rather a sign of responsive governance. Mr. Speaker, the original budget that was crafted was meant with a view to have solved our problems from January to December. But the reality is changed along the line, Mr. Speaker, and that's a treason. Mr. Speaker, I don't want my people from Yenga or from Kwendu or the village I'm coming from, Pangben in Dakar, Congo, to find themselves in what I would call an economic predicament. Hence, the necessary need for this particular supplementary budget to be passed by this Honorable House. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, this is not an extra spending. Mr. Speaker, it is rather an extra protection for the people of this nation. Remember, when the Yenga issue broke up, we never knew there was going to be a kind of deadlock where we see Guineans coming to illegally occupying our lands. So it is in this very budget, the January to December 2026 budget, that military officers in numbers, OSD officers in numbers, went to secure the Yenga land and outlying villages. Mr. Speaker, if we say we cannot pass this supplementary budget today, it means those military officers, the people within that particular area, will suffer. Mr. Speaker, when the Honorable from Bombali was debating, he made mention about our reserve being depleted. But Mr. Speaker, I beg to differ. This budget has got nothing to do with our reserve, the supplementary budget. Rather, Mr. Speaker, this budget is coming from the consolidated fund, and usually we bring in supplementary budget with the view of remedying challenges that were unforeseen. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable the Honorable member also from Bombali made mention about inflation. He said inflation is just going up. Inflation is going up. But Mr. Speaker, inflation is not made in Sierra Leone. It is neither made in Freetown. Mr. Speaker, inflation is something that is monotonous across the world. America today, England, they are all suffering. They are crying from high prices. I want to implore my brothers on the other side to see reason to support this supplementary budget. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, the honorable member from Tonkolili as well doubted the credibility and said it is not touching the lives of the people. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, an increase for the police in this very budget speaks to the fact that we are looking after the people of this country. When the honorable member was debating, the honorable member from Cambia, he was only mentioning where there was a shortfall. He never spoke about the increments that they made for the police. He also never mentioned the increments that is made, in the communication ministry. These are all pointers that also speak to the people of this country. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, a credible budget tells the truth and adjusts the realities on the ground. Mr. Speaker, what is not credible is to stick to the January to December original budget. When the world has changed, when fuel price is going up, when the Strait of Hormuz is closed, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the finance minister for, in fact, having the right acumen and panache in leading this country. What he has demonstrated is a clear depiction about the fact that he knows what he is doing and this country is in safer hands. Mr. Speaker, why do I support this budget? Mr. Speaker, I support this budget for the following fundamentalisms. One has got to do with the government following the law. Mr. Speaker, the other has got to do with that of the fact that the Minister of Finance, he is a very powerful man, but he didn't just choose to approve this budget. He has brought it to this honorable house as per law in section 112 of the 1991 Constitution, and also as stated or enshrined in the Public Financial Management Regulation of 2018. Mr. Speaker, this shows we have a humble finance minister leading a humble team that are following, procedures. Mr. Speaker, another thing that is very important as to why I support this particular supplementary bill has got to do with the fact that it has transparency in it. When you are not in government, it is easy for you to criticize. You will just say there was no increment in agriculture. You will say there was no increment in energy. These are realities. But remember, as a government, they think ahead. We have what we call donor-funded projects. We have government-funded projects. So if I see, for whatever reason, that on this particular thematic area, government is doing well, then I will take other areas or activities into depending on government or foreign funded projects with a view of getting a balance in between. So, Mr. Speaker and honorable members, the extra money that is needed in this particular supplementary budget is because of the challenges we are currently faced as a nation. The supplementary budget is to respond to the realities as stated earlier. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, before I take my seat, I want to ask that the people of Yenga be considered in this supplementary budget. They are currently stationed in Kwendu. They are in dire need of food. They are in dire need of quick fix shelters. And Mr. Speaker, I want to believe that if we are to pass this budget today, and that is considered, then we would have done justice to the Kisitec people and especially my people that are represented. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Thank you. Honorable Dr. Umfa Roma. Honorable Umupai, you ready?
It's 5 minutes.
No, I'm allowing the women. Umupai and yes.
Honorable members.
Honorable Umupai. Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members. We're here today again with a supplementary budget from the Ministry of Finance to the Minister of Finance. The Minister made it clear the reasons why this supplementary budget is before us. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I would just want to remind this House what were the essence of the budget of 2026 were. The theme of that budget was enhancing domestic revenue, mobilization for sustained economic stability, and improved revenue generation. But today, in front of us here is a supplementary budget that seeks to strengthen budget credibility, to safeguard macroeconomic stability, and protect livelihoods of citizens. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I believe challenges confronted by this government in the budget of 2026 have informed or forced this government to come with a supplementary budget. Indeed, we are not oblivious of the fact that there's a global crisis. Oil prices have gone up. Inflation was in single digits, now it's in double digits. And the government has to respond accordingly. But it's also our responsibility as an opposition or parties to governance to alert government on some of the challenges that have made this government unable to meet first the agenda of the 2026 budget, which was to ensure that they enhance domestic revenue. If you go to page 4 of this supplementary budget, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, and 23, the minister reminded us that domestic revenue collected during the first half of 2026 amounted to 10.5 billion, which was 5.5% of GDP, and it's below the revised target by 369,000 leons. And he said the shortfall was mainly accounted for by lower than projected collection of goods and services, that's GST, custom excise duties, and road users charges. But of course, we continue to engage MDAs in our committees, our respective committees. And the Honorable from Cambia, in his submission, stated that we've seen a lot of activities on the road of trucks, loading and unloading, the movement of heavy-duty vehicles across our toll gates, and all of that has not accounted for higher revenue. We also know that Sierra Leone and our ports have been used as a transit point of containers to other countries. The question is, and the question we should be asking the Sierra Leone port, is to know what is happening with the containers that are coming through our ports. What I can suggest is undermining revenue collection in our country as we speak. It's a possibility that we've used our ports as a transit point. And some of the containers that do come to our shores and are only paying only the transit fee are taken out of the port, but they are opened, and the products that come from those containers do not go out of the country, but they are used in our country. So which means we are undermining the efforts of government in ensuring that revenue collected for containers that come into our country as a final destination, we are not benefiting from that. So the authorities at the port need to answer to those governments and to this parliament why those containers do come through our ports. They claim that they are coming through Sierra Leone as a transit point, but Sierra Leone do become their final destination. Governments have not succeeded in ensuring that they meet the enhanced revenue mobilization. Government has been undermined by government operatives that have seen a reduction of government revenue. But what we should be asking again as we move forward, how long will we continue down this road? How long will government continue to borrow and borrow? It is stated in paragraph 29 that the deficit in our budget was financed by borrowing from both foreign and domestic sources. But we note that most of our borrowing is coming from domestic sources. And we also note that when government borrow more from domestic sources, then the private sector definitely suffers and suffocates. Because government, we know, pay more interest on their loans. So the private banks or the public financial banks, like commercial banks, Sierra Commercial Bank, or local commercial banks, are more interested in loaning to government versus loaning to the private sector. And we've always held this view that for the economy to grow, the private sector must be able to thrive. But if government is borrowing more from these banks, then the banks are not even encouraged to loan to private sector investors. So indeed, the suffocation of the economy because of lack of loans to the private sector will be felt across the board. It also means that government will be forced to even create jobs for the people that put pressure on government for jobs. Because what is clear is that government has to ensure that the private sector grow and influence the private sector to create jobs for the people that they want to give jobs to. So it is a vicious cycle, and it does have a ripple effect. Because if government is creating more jobs, means the wage bill will go up. If government creates more jobs, it means the government have to borrow more. And if government is borrowing more, it means the private sector will continue to suffer. Then indeed our public debt will continue to expand. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, in this budget, it is critical that yes, we want to ask government why they've seen a rise downwards of the expenditure towards agriculture. We also want to ask government why we've seen health services budget increase. Because we want to see in the increment of the revision of spending in health, what are the return in the increment of spending in health? But with agriculture spending less, which is, by the way, it's a government flagship program, we want to see
why we've seen a reduction in the spending of agriculture from the amount as indicated in the beginning in that budget of 2026 versus what we've been given here. We noted that in the first half of the year, government was supposed to spend 95,335 leons, but government ended up spending up 61,968,700, and that for the balance of this year, government intends to spend 29,413. Yes, the amount, when you do the math, will end up to be the same. But indeed, I can tell you emphatically that agriculture needs more than that expenditure. So today, Mr. Minister, I just have a few questions for you. And you will take note and you answer. As we intend to increase spending, how do you ensure to increase your revenue? How do you ensure to see that borrowing is reduced? How do you ensure to see that the grants, because we know grants help government in managing the surplus, the shortfalls. How do you intend to reallocate expenditure? The Honorable from Gambia stated the expenditure to foreign missions. Foreign missions have reduced, but as we note, since 2018, 19, and 20, we were advised that government cannot continue to increase more missions or creating more missions across the country because it will increase the government expenditure. We want to know what will be the impact on the fiscal deficit on public debt. Whether spending will align with government's midterm or medium-term national development plan. The energy sector, Mr. Minister, the energy sector shows an increment in spending. And we want to know what programs have changed, that have prompted the increment. Because as a citizen of this country, I can only note a change in my electricity supply or the benefit from the electricity in the middle of this rainy season. We want to know the investment in the Ministry of Agriculture that had prompted the increment. We want to see how government can add to the expenditure in agriculture. So, in concluding, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, we want to make it clear that on our side, we are not against this budget. We want to make it clear that if we question some votes in this supplementary budget, it is our responsibility as representatives of the people to ensure that we know whether we are getting value for money. And in closing also, I want to respond to a statement by the professor, the economics teacher of my leader, Honorable Mohamed Lansana. He stated that at the end of 2017, our import cover was below 3. He said 2.2, 2.8. But the records are clear that our import cover at the end of 2017 was 3.5 months of import cover. I also want to remind you that by the end of 2018, which was at the time that the APC government handed over power in April, the import cover reduced to 3.0. And that when compared by the IMF
of the laws, IMF noted that this amount was about $54 million lower than the amount that it was in 2017, at the end of 2017. So we know this supplementary budgets have seen a lot of revision of expenditure. We know that this supplementary budgets have seen a lot of revision in allocations to respective MBAs. As a parliament, it's our responsibility to go over them. As a Ministry of Finance, it is your duty to ensure that government is not embarrassed. It is your responsibility that government programs continue. And we, as representatives of the people, we want to further guide that as you continue to do the work of the people, it is imperative that we continue to guide you in your process, in your work. So to end, Mr. Minister, we need to know what is happening with the cargoes that are coming through our country. It is very important. We need to know the activities that are happening at the ports. It has to be monitored. We need to ensure that we bring forward the efforts of the National Drug Enforcement Agency. The National Drug Enforcement Agency needs to be further capacitated. In some of our engagements with the Sierra Pharmacy Board, we noted some challenges. The chairperson is here. But we need their support. But the board, the Pharmacy Board cannot support work if efforts at the key are being undermined by port workers, by custom authorities, or even if the drug law enforcement authorities are not capacitated for that. Containers coming to our shores without a source or without a clear destination needs to be really looked into. I know it's not under your purview when it comes to law enforcement, but it's something that we need to say here. So as we continue to brainstorm, as we continue to grapple with how we can increase revenue, it is important. Yes, it's important that we tell you that containers do come to this country that are not being accounted for in terms of revenue generation. And you need to be more forceful about it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All of us have been here for over 4 hours, and my colleagues have said so many good things about this project, but I feel very uncomfortable without saying anything about female, about gender. So, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for allowing me to stand and talk on behalf of gender.
Talking for gender.
Gender is male and female. And much have been said about low
gender is not just female.
But I want to take another part in actually giving my own opinion here. I want to thank Mr. Minister and his team. Although there have been inflation and low revenue collection in the country, but he has considered gender. There is increase in gender, which is very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. Mr. Speaker, for 2 years ago, this house here passed and our president agreed on the GW bill, which will be 30%. And the 30% actually should reflect on all MPAs in parliament, women that are elected, and in many other sectors, in private sectors and government sectors. This increment, this proposed budget that the minister actually added here, I really want to say that the law is clear. It is clear because when we have 30% of gender, it also should cover equal payment, and it should always be that that we have to look into loans, and we have to look at 14 weeks maternity leave for women. But Mr. Speaker, the law, if it is passed that we should have 30% without funding, how can we actually fund the gender areas? So that is why I want to actually thank the minister and his team for actually increasing the gender bill. Although I have thanked you, Mr. Minister, but I don't want you to forget that we've still not yet reached 30% yet. We are still 28% women in parliament, and we have 17% in cabinet of women. And that is not all. So that is why I want actually to bring it up to you that this increase is timely. The budget that you actually increased, the proposed budget, it is timely. And I want actually the gender ministry, the gender commission, and all other MDAs to consider women so that we can actually have our 30%. As for today, we have only 20% of women that are in police. And we have FSU. We have this family unit. How can we have more women in FSU so that they can actually talk for our girls, talk for family members that have problems with their welfare or with their homes? So in increasing this again, look at the prisons. We only have 24% of women that are working in correctional centers. And we have our sisters there. So I was happy that the prison director was here this morning. I wanted to do that. I want to advocate for you through the gender that part of this bill should actually go to prisons. And it is not only prisons. Now, you have to coordinate with Ministry of Education as well. The 30%, there are 16 DDs, deputy directors in this country, in all of the 16 districts, but we only have 2 of them that are women. But if there is more money from gender that can go to the Ministry of Education so that we can have more women to be in the Ministry of Education as DDs, it can be well. Mayamba districts have, we are very lucky that we have the LUC who is a woman, and we have the DD who is a woman. But I'm actually employing the gender minister to see that we have to coordinate with police so that we can have more LUC women in the country. And that is not all. That is not all. Because here I've had my colleagues spoken very well, although they did not say anything about gender, that there have been no increase in education, no increase in health. But when this increase is here in gender, it is best that the gender minister actually sit together with the others and try to see that the women can actually benefit from this increment. And Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I urge the minister to ensure 3 things in this gender proposed increment bill. One of them is that the money should be tied to measurable targets. And what are those targets? We have our girls in school. That's why I'm talking about Ministry of Education. The girls need more attention. There should be more finance to go to the girls. And then we need to recruit more female teachers and more nurses. We have more female nurses, but they don't have PIN code. So I applaud you that you should actually work together with the Ministry of Education of Health that female nurses get PIN code. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, the second point that I want Mr. Minister to think about is that this increment should actually think about implementation and monitoring of the gender ministry. Because the gender have got this increase, but we have to know how they are doing their work. We have to monitor them. Because monitoring is very good for all MDAs. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, the third point which I want you, Mr. Minister, and your team to actually think about, we have to prioritize our sisters. We have our sisters that are in the villages. Sierra Leone is not only limited to Freetown, Kenemago, Kono, or Makeni. We have our sisters at Shenge, at Mano Dase, at Bradford, we have them. So when we have this type of increment in the bill, it is nice that they also benefit from these increments. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, investing in women is investing in economy. So, as I said, most of my colleagues that spoke today, they've actually spoken well because I'm not in the place to actually say how they have spoken, but I did not say anything about gender. So that's why I'm very happy that Mr. Speaker actually asked me to stand up and speak. And as I've said, we need the 30%, and the 30% can be achieved by actually using the budget, of course. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I want to see that there are more other money added to gender the next time when the next year, the next fiscal year. So let's just don't remain in this one for now. So I actually want to say that I will support this bill, and I am asking my colleagues to also support this bill, as this bill is very good, especially for women gender. Thank you very much.
Honorable, hold on, Deputy. I'll give you 10 minutes for. Let me hear the lady.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I want to thank the Minister of Finance, the astute Minister of Finance. To be honest, the Minister of Finance, Fantama de Bangura, has done so very much. It is very difficult to run an economy of a developing country like Sierra Leone, but he has done so very much. But Mr. Speaker, in his statement this morning to this House, I want to reflect on the end paragraph of 66, the honesty of the presentation that he has made so far. The last paragraph of 66 says, this revised budget therefore seeks to enhance budget credibility and boost fiscal resilience to safeguard macroeconomic stability, improve service delivery, and mitigate the impact of the crisis on the vulnerable group in our society. That's a very frank and a very honest statement by him. Because sometimes you cannot just bring a supplementary budget without telling us the purposes of bringing the supplementary budget. And Mr. Minister, we have to assure you that us in this part of the aisle, we are not against this bill to pass. Because we are Sierra Leoneans, and we are part and parcel of the development of this country, and we are part and parcel of governance of whatever we do as Sierra Leone. So we want to congratulate you on your honesty, and we want to say thank you very much for making it clear. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, my sister from Moyamba says there is an increase in the budget for the Ministry of Gender and Children's Affairs. Being the chairperson for the Committee on Gender and Children's Affairs, I have asked severally, I have canvassed this House for an increase in budget of the Ministry of Gender. Mr. Speaker, yes, the supplementary budget made an increase to the Ministry of Gender and Children's Affairs, for which we want to say thank you to the Minister for considering, deploring the deplorable situation of the Ministry of Gender. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, in the 16th district, if you check, there are no officers in most of the one-stop centers because there is no money to cater for the one-stop center. The ministry is seriously suffering. So if the minister thought it wise to do some increment, we want to say thank you to him for considering the Ministry of Gender. Mr. Speaker, even though the Ministry of Gender and the Children's Commission work closely, and it's a side-by-side work. It's a mother and a child work. The increase is done to the Ministry of Gender, but there is no increase put into the Children's Commission. Mr. Speaker, honorable member, the Children's Commission is dying. I keep telling this House, that the commission is dying. Mr. Minister, consider the commission into the 2027 appropriation. I pray that you continue to be there, so that at the end of the day, all of our appeal will be considered. The commission is dying. As I speak, I am in close collaboration with the commissioner. I work with them. The commission, nothing is happening in the commission because there is no money. So we want you to look into the problems of that particular commission. Remember, our children, they are the future of Sierra Leone. We need to give them all what we think we should for the benefits of this country. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I want to say a very big thank you again to the NRA. They are doing very much well. But Mr. Speaker, can we turn back the lens of this house so that us in this house support the NRA to look into the issue of GST and to look into the issue of whatever they are collecting? Mr. Speaker, we've been privatizing most of the things that government should collect money. Mr. Speaker, in this house, we privatize what we call the resident permit. Mr. Speaker, when we went outside as a committee on fisheries 2 weeks ago, Mr. Speaker, we have Chinese, Indians that are here in this country that are not paying resident permits. They are not. And Mr. Speaker, the resident permit and the work permit, they are two different things. The work permit is being handled by the Ministry of Labour. We have Sierra Leoneans that are conniving into the Ministry of Labour to take money, yes. As I speak, when we went to Tombo, we have resident work permit that I have in my possession, Mr. Minister, that are fake work permits given by our own brothers and sisters in the Ministry of Labour. Are we really serious? When we talk about revenue collection, we should be serious. As civil servants should be work close collaboration with the Ministry of Finance and the National Revenue Authority. Mr. Speaker, the money for a work permit, I think, is $2,000. $2,000 times 5 is $10,000. It can pay many civil servants. And for a single individual just to sit in his or her own corner cocoon to eat that particular money means a lot to this country. It means a lot. And Mr. Minister, can you please work with the company that we've given the issue of the resident permit? In June, the same problem. We have over 15 Chinese with no resident permit and with no work permit. Us parliamentarians, we call on the commissioner, the chief immigration officer. We have to call on him. I call on him personally. That's Mr. Immigration Officer. Can you send some people here? We are here and we are waiting now. And they went there, they met us. 3 of them. Are we really doing something? If we are just putting everything to the NRA, then we are not honest, to be honest. Yes, the NRA they are doing. Can we have other companies that are doing, collecting money? Fishes is doing so much in raising the revenue. But are we working in close collaboration with these companies? Mr. Minister, as I speak, we have fishing companies that have closed. Many of them, they have closed. If you ask them, they will tell you it's because of the issue of taxes. Yesterday, they were paying 6 months quarterly and 2 quarters. And now they said they needed to pay for a whole year. It is too much for them, according to them. We will lay the report here. The report is finished, the chairperson will lay it. But let me bring it in this debate, Mr. Speaker. If we want to collect money, can we canvass these people? The people in the private sector are the people that are giving us money. If we canvass them, if we work closely with them, we will raise more than what we want the NRA to raise. Let us join the National Revenue Authority to raise money for Sierra Leone. If we have a close collaboration, a close work, we'll not come here with what we call a supplementary budget. No, we're not. A supplementary budget is here because we need to cut down into whatever we've agreed, because we cannot go with that anymore. So I am asking that we work closely with companies that have plenty international staff, plenty of whatever staff, so that at the end of the day, more revenue will come into our consolidated fund. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, the problem of subsidies. Mr. Minister, please look into the subsidy issue again. It is affecting schools. The local councils also are dying. Most of them have not received grants. Mr. Speaker, the issue of grants is serious into our local councils. Yes, we debated it here. We said the local councils were created by the SLPP. And if it is a baby of the SLPP, we are calling on them again. So please look into their safety. Look into whatever they are doing for the benefit. No, when we speak sometimes, we speak politically. And if we speak politically, we have to be very, very precise. And if we are precise, we need to canvass people that we think we should canvass for the benefit of everyone. So on that note, Mr. Speaker, I want to believe supplementary budget is very timely. Let us be very sincere and honest as Sierra Leonean. Let us be very open up. Sometimes we cannot politicize everything. When it is real, let us be honest to say it is real. When it is good, let us be real to say, oh yes, we need it. Oh yes, we need it. The minister cannot sit in his office and say, no, everything is going easy and everything is okay, without calling to parliament. And the law is very clear. You cannot overspend, you cannot touch what you should not touch. If you touch, you are in trouble with this house. So thank you very much for coming back to reverting that we are here again to talk to you and to look into whatever we've done. We want to thank you for that. And Mr. Speaker, the minister says we have what we call an increase in iron ore production. Oh yes, I know we've seen a lot of companies that are producing iron ore in Sierra Leone. But Mr. Speaker, we are still suffering from the reduction of iron ore prices. So I really don't know what is happening. Yes, we are producing, we are exporting, but the prices are still exorbitant. So can we turn again and look into them so that at the end of the day, our common people, us that don't have houses, will try to have 1 or 2 houses for the benefits of our children, for them not to ask us tomorrow, what have you been doing, my mommy or my daddy? So on the overall, we want to congratulate him, we want to wish him well, and we want to assure you that nobody will stand the test of time that this supplementary budget will not pass. We wish you well and we say thank you.
The Speaker will give you 10 minutes and we round up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I see and I realize that the debate today is more of a national debate, having a national outlook, than one that is political. I would want to say thank you to my colleagues on the other side for having lent their voices to this debate. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I have 10 minutes and I'm going straight to the point. The first thing I wish to comment on is on the budget profile. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I heard the honorable Ufa Soyibeshi and the honorable Ikeke. They made mention of vehicles flying the routes leading to Kavia, exiting for Conakry. But Mr. Speaker, honorable members, it will interest you to note that from January to May, there are only 790 containers that have come through our ports meant for transit. So my records here, when I speak, I always speak my records. My records here shows that between January and May, we have received 26,000, let me be exact, 26,017 containers. Though AGM is saying we received 33,000. But Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I think I made an analysis of the number of containers that were 40 feet and those that are 20 feet. So it would interest you to note that of the numbers I have received from them, we have received 14,541 40-feet containers. Mr. Speaker, as a businessman, like I said the other day, planning to go into my palm business, I've already started importation of raw materials. So I know what I pay when I bring in 40-feet containers into this country. But Mr. Speaker, if I take a baseline of 80,000, which is not what I pay, what I have paid is more than that. If I take a baseline of 80,000, it will give me 1,163,280, which that is on 40/50, which far outweighs what is in the budget as received for import duties. So if we calculate what we received for 25 containers, we have received 6,501 containers. So if you take another baseline of 50,000, which is not what I pay usually when I bring in 25 containers, you would have 325,050. So if you add all of that, it would be very close to the annual budget for revenue generated from customs. But if you look at the annex in Roman 1, Mr. Speaker, I visit this minister, we stay together, we stay very close. Sometimes I go visit him on Sundays. Instead of us having fun and drinking wine over interesting national gist, he will be talking and he will be looking at papers. And this is true. It's because people are not performing at their level. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the numbers here, the number shows that custom import duties as at Q1 to Q2 stands at 952,814. And by the end of the year, it is expected that our import duties for customs should be around 2,003,601, which is below the original budget of 2,075,000. So the question is, what is happening down there? That is the first question, Mr. Speaker. My next is congestion. What is responsible for the congestion, and why is it that the congestion is not clearing at all? People seem to believe that the congestion is created because we have increase in the number of containers. Yes, that is true. Because I've been at the port the other day, I was there until 2 a.m. Yes, that's true. I was there until 2 a.m. And I realized MSC had a cargo that docked that day and it discharged 2,000 containers in Freetown alone. One vessel, 2,000 containers. So is government actually getting its due? No, the problem is multifaceted. The police, naturally, the police are creating roadblocks. For every containerized vehicle, thank God I say policeman there. For every containerized vehicle that comes through the port, if you don't tip the police, your vehicle will not enter the port. It is true, it is fact. If you don't tip them, your vehicle will not enter the port. And you see vehicles standing there, standing in the queue. For ages, there are vehicles that have been there for since Sunday. They are not being able to enter the port. That is the first part. The second part of the police is that the police believe that by creating that congestion and putting a restriction, and I heard government has lifted that restriction, which is good, by putting a restriction for inbound containers that go westward, it helps them to collect more from those that want to access the port. And Mr. Speaker, honorable member, in business, fairness is the first thing. If you are creating a path for one businessman, you should create a path for everyone. So at the port, there is a challenge. The business people, when we examine the issues around the port, they will tell you that preference is given to a certain businessman who uses the exit gate as entry, and he can pick up his container as and when he wishes. So it prevents other people from removing from clearing their container. And that is a major challenge. It is impacting them, and I don't care about the businessman having preference. I am cared about the fact that it is impacting on the revenue. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, there is a much talked about, and it's on the paragraph 37. If you go to paragraph 37 and if you look at Roman 2 on fuel subsidy, at the beginning of the year, you realize that fuel subsidy was 0. The projected budget that we have ratified and we have put in this parliament, the minister was deliberate to say we are not going to give subsidy to any OMC. But when you are forced by volatility, day before yesterday, I was listening to World Economic News, and the quarter 1 and quarter 2 of the Saudi budget was referenced. Their net loss was 9.4 billion. The net loss performance from their projected budget revenue is 9.4 billion. That is to say, even the big boys, they are hurt by the fact that the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, the Red Sea is a trap, and every other point of doing business is risky. And if you have a community where in the beginning we have OMCs that were giving opportunities to government, the rationalized prices, but now, like most people will say, the OMC business is a cartel. You like it or not, if you're in the business, you have to join the business platform and the business etiquette. And the etiquette has brought everybody in, so the prices are the same across board now. So government is forced to subsidize to the extent that subsidy has gone up to 243 million. It is huge. But if government fails to subsidize, you will realize that there will be queues, there will be whether artificial or natural scarcity. And government will not want that because fear by itself is a political commodity. Few days ago, when the war issue, when it has become intense, Mr. Speaker, you see, yesterday I was flying around the fields. Queues have started. It's not to say fear is not available. It's to tell the minister that we want to increase price. And he would have to negotiate that. I have gone to his house. I go to his house regularly. The other day, Mrs. Fatama did prepared a very delicious meal. The minister took few items, but I was there. I helped him. I had a full plate. He could not eat because he is thinking of what is coming, what is in the horizon. But we need to help him. If you look at the subsidy on EPSA, on home and two as well, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, it has increased. It has moved from 480 projected at the beginning of the year to 1.6. We have to be serious about either A, curbing energy theft, or B, making sure that money is collected for payment into the consolidated revenue is paid. If it is not paid, government is forced to subsidize, to pay Canadian power sheet, to pay other IPPs, because in those IPPs, including Bubuna, the operation of Bubuna is still majority private. If government fails to subsidize those, then the city will be dark. And when the city is dark, everybody, whether you are a politician or not, everybody will be coming. Because those that have their freezers at home, that want to produce high skills to sell, those that have their stock being in their fridge to sell and feed their family, they will be hot. So for government to manage the economy at both macro and micro level, what government should do and what the national government or the national minister should do or should advise the government is to subsidize so that you keep the balance. But Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I have spoken about the ports, the customs duties, but let me also tell you about rivers. Mr. Speaker, if we don't put a brake on ministries, departments, and agencies developing memos, passing those memos signed by permanent secretaries, then the minister signed and they send it to the Ministry of Finance. And the Ministry of Finance, this is not flyover. And the Ministry of Finance, they have a desk on duty exemption and waiver. That desk could approve it. If you are the Minister of Finance, you have a table full like mine, maybe more than mine. And you receive a document. Sometimes somebody will just suck you into signing a document. So in the last audit, ministries, departments, and agencies alone, their duty waivers and exemption amounted to 188 million. That's a lot of money. Giving away. Mining companies are giving concessions by the Ministry of Mines. Mr. Speaker, the power of this parliament is being eroded by ministries, departments, and agencies. I must say it's a pity. Ministers, permanent secretaries sit at the comfort of their offices. They will sign authorization waiving payment of customs duties, waiving payment of import duties, inbound containers. And if you go to my schedule, you will realize that FD is one of the highest importers of inbound containers. But the highest is PC and salt. So we must ask ourselves, If PC and Son has bought in 1,721 containers between January and May, how much has he paid? These are the real questions we must ask. Because if we don't ask those questions, whenever we come here, we'll be talking politics. There are days to talk politics, like Tuesday I was talking politics. Today, we are talking our own interest. Because my salary and the calculation I did that day on Tuesday is dependent on the revenue that government will be able to generate. So we have to look at everybody. It is a business of watching our too. We must be attentive, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, honorable members, we must also be attentive to the fact that this Parliament has passed a law in the Finance Act that 30% of export revenue must be repatriated into this country. So we have to do a calculation. If the last export calculation was 2.8 billion, how much is 30% of 2.8 billion? It will be around 666 million. Do we have 666 million or 367 million in the account of people exporting out of this country? Because if we have those foreign currency revenues in their account, it would mean we can be in charge of the exchange rate. He has done a fantastic job when it comes to managing the exchange rate, when it comes to keeping the stability. This is the third year or fourth year or so that our exchange rate is around 23.5, 23.4, 23.7. I must also give kudos to the government. His MPRs are spot on. What he has done to the economy in terms of managing the monetary and the monetary policy end of the financial dynamics is powerful. But if we are not receiving what we should receive, all of this talk about 2 months of import cover, 3 months of import cover, if you receive, you have a cash injection of $666 million into your economy. There is no need for you to be talking about 2 months, 3 months of import cover. And these are real numbers. These are numbers that are living. And these are numbers that we must harness. These are numbers that we must fetch because they are before us. In banking, governor will tell you, those that are in marketing, they will tell you, these are low-hanging fruits. They are very close. You block them and you eat. Don't worry about it. So, Mr. Minister, I also